Good morning, America. I'll be with you very shortly. Okay, I think I should be live on all outlets. Good morning, America. Hope you're well. Hope you had a lovely weekend. So let's get to it. We had a gap open, which put pressure on the market throughout the night. If we're looking at the overnight range, so the overnight range is looking roughly something like this. Had a misdirect in the morning, during the night, and then trading lower. And that opening point or that opening range is pretty much where we are now, which was about somewhere between 21,220 and 270. And currently we're trading at smack in the middle. We've been lower, and the gap fill is at 427. Is it plausible? Yes, it is. We finally have a breakout in Europe, whilst you guys were doing whatever you're doing in your long breaks. I was actually trading this FTSE and built up a position, a really good position here. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what or why, this market took a real big turn lower. So yeah, that caused a little bit of a sweaty palm. So what I want to do is put on the numbers as well here in the Dow. And I think stake size today will be £2 in the Dow and £4 in Nasdaq. So that's it. So that will be the 100% stake size. And I'll get rid of this. I would love to go through the trades with you from this morning. But let's just see if we can find some trades first. So we have a big push higher, and the first 15 minutes candle in the Nasdaq is very, very bullish. And on the 5-minute chart, bar 1, 2, and 3 are strong bull bars, which would strongly suggest that we're going up to the top end of the trading range or the overnight range. And up there, I guess we'll decide whether it's gap fill or not. I think that in a situation like this, you want to try and be a buyer for whatever reason. Prior bar low, close on low, bar close on lows. You can see the same in the Dow, but the Dow is actually already above the overnight range. And the DAX, according to my software, has a gap fill at 42,654. So about 150 points from here. And here as well, on a 5-minute chart, you got a strong close on the 1, 2, 3. If you want me to show you how this translates into the S&P 500, you probably find that it makes very little difference because the indices are correlated. However, when you begin to draw in a box, you'll see how the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are more aligned today, whilst the Dow is already significantly above the overnight range box. So a clear trend is emerging and a push higher. Now it becomes a question of where should I buy? If I wasn't trading in a educational capacity, I think just buy the bloody thing, and that's what the context of the overnight range is telling me. But it is educational, so let's try and be a little smarter about it. So the S&P 500 is coming up to the top end of the overnight range, as is the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has just issued an aggressive school run long. You'll see the same here in the Dow. It perhaps a little bit ambitious to be a buyer on a breakout, but nevertheless the right thing to be. But from a money management point of view, I'm just going to hold off a little bit. I haven't answered messages in Telegram since last week, and it's always joyful to come back to a couple of thousand messages. So if you have been writing to me and I haven't replied, please don't be offended. Look at it this way, there's 2,000 other people that are also offended. That's my machine kicking a fuss. Just ignore it. I am. So I want to show you something right now. The it's not actually what I want to do. That's better. There we go. So this line here, the 21,365, that actually represents the, if you just look at the market in hours in the Nasdaq, if you just look at it in hours, that is roughly the average price. I know that this is not 100% up to date because it will be 20 minutes delayed, and I don't subscribe to a charging package that is real time, because there's no point. I get the data from the broker, so it would just be a waste of money. I wouldn't use it. I use this for research only. But so the average price is roughly 21,365, and we're currently trading at 21,285 or thereabouts. Do the same here in the SPX. So the SPX average price using an exponential moving average is 5941. This is straight out of Al Brooks's teachings. So 5941. So that would be, I think I'll use this one here instead. So 5941, thereabouts, close enough. So that's the average price right now for the S&P 500. And so this is excluding the overnight and just taking into account the trading session, what we call in-hours trading session. And if you want the same for the, actually I can't quite do the Dow because that requires a different kind of subscription. I haven't got that. I just got the Dow futures. So anyway, so that's but as you can see, the Dow is comparatively stronger in the context of the overnight range. and is charging towards the close of the gap. And the S&P coming up to the top end of the box. So the school run will kick in approximately 1 minute. I think if you're buying up here on a breakout, you kind of missed. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strong bull bars. Perhaps it would be wiser to perhaps be a buyer below 6 or below 5. Seems as if the Nasdaq has stalled at the top end of the range, and the S&P is fighting. But I sort of just wonder, with those two lagging behind the Dow, whether a short position up here on a double top would be a good idea. I haven't actually traded the S&P here, so this is per 1. I just want to line that up. I might just take I want like just a demonstrative position. So anyway, so that was the conclusion of the first 2 15-minute bars, and the Dow has triggered a long signal at 42,603. Nasdaq has triggered a long at 22,296, and the S&P, which I haven't really tested for the 50-minute candle, is a long here, but this is within the overnight range, so I should rather be a seller of the S&P here, which I'm just going to try and do, because I haven't actually sold the S&P. Sorry, I haven't actually traded the S&P with you, and so I'm just get an idea of the stake size here. I won't post this in Telegram because it's I'm not saying it's not a real trade, because it is a real trade, but I don't trade the S&P. I usually trade the Nasdaq, and so it would seem that I am betting £2 per S&P point, which is not really a whole lot. But the idea then would be that the Dow is forging ahead, the Nasdaq and the S&P is lagging behind, and they were at the top end of the overnight range, and I sold short here. I haven't even put a stop loss in because I'm so unfamiliar with this. So let me see if I put a stop loss in there, what will happen? But there you go. That seems like a decent place to have a stop loss. So I'm buying the Nasdaq here on a school run. In full size. I think I'm already stopped out in the S&P. Dow triggered long at 603. It's kind of trading at 620. I am not in. I'm in the Nasdaq instead. Well, my account was 780, so I must have lost 20 pounds. All right, so let's see how this goes. This is just a plain vanilla school run long. So I haven't got an accurate reading of what the moving average is, the exponential moving average is, but it's probably roughly around 360, so that would be a potential target. But we are trading at the top end of the range now, as you can see, or close to, and that would be my immediate objective. For those of you who live in America is tuning in for the first time this morning, I promised I would talk about my speaking schedule. I believe that I will be attending Al Brooks's event in Orlando from the 3rd of October until and inclusive the 7th of October. So the Nasdaq just spiked higher up into the moving average, so it's turning into a pretty decent trade. I'm gonna double up on my position here, doubling up. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to press that. I just closed half position. Sorry about that. I actually didn't mean to press half. I meant to press modify the position for the stop loss. Oh shoot, sorry about that. If you follow me methodically, you may just want to make a little note of that. I'm sorry. It was probably what do you call that? Divine intervention. Maybe I should actually contemplate taking profit here because we have reached a major objective. Just go to show. So Dow filled the gap and is now backtracking a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to take profit on my add-on. Done that now. And then I want to close my Nasdaq for about 60 points. I'm just going to take a few minutes break. I just need to attend to something. 1 second, okay? Hi, I'm back. There we go. So it seems as if, by all accounts, we're getting gap fills and we caught up with the average price. So very strong performance. As I said earlier, it's almost one of those just buy for any reason. Why did I take profit? Didn't have a very good morning in Europe, and this was a nice way of even out the balance. I don't know if you ever heard of this book here. It's written by a gentleman called Toby Crabell. And I don't know if you can see this. You see this here? This is the logo of something called Traders Press. Unfortunately, Traders Press didn't survive the financial crisis, which was a real shame because they sold some really interesting books. I wonder who took over the portfolio, Traders Press. Yeah. There was a guy there who owned it. Larry Pesavento knew him well, called Ed Dobson or Edward Dobson. Love to figure out what happened to their catalog. They had some kick-ass books. Maybe a little old now, but this book here was my first book, and the reason why I wanted to just bring that to your attention was because I have a technique, and it's not a technique that I talk much about, but it's called the espresso. And the espresso is, did you know, here's a little, here's something you don't know about me. There's probably many things you don't know about me, but I am a middle-aged man, and I might just be one of the only people in the world who's never tasted coffee. Yeah, it's the very smell of coffee is like, holy shoot, why would anyone drink something like that? But anyway, kind of got sidestepped here. So this book here, the Toby Crabell, was the first book I ever bought, and I see on Amazon they retail for something like $250, $300. So they're a real collector's item. I still have mine in a sort of in a light blue light blue cover. It's machine typed. It's like a proper typing machine typo. And what it talks about is the opening range breakout. Now, how you define the opening range, obviously, is going to be very much research dependent and person to person dependent. But the developer of the software that you see here, the trade from chart, and what, can't remember what version I got going here. It doesn't actually say that, but trade from chart is developed by myself, but more importantly by, oh there it is, 1.4, by a gentleman who's, I don't know whether he wants his name known or not, so I better not. But anyway, this gentleman here and I developed this together with a couple of other traders, and one of those is Karaoke Andy. And please, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever meet or see Karaoke Andy before he sees you, just make sure that you turn around and walk the other way, because if he gets close to you and gets to know you, there's a very real chance you may end up at a karaoke bar. And you don't really want to be in a karaoke bar with Karaoke Andy, because he sings well and he will put you to shame. Unless, of course, you're a Frank Sinatra. And, of course, he did that to me. Although he didn't actually get me dragged into a karaoke bar. He just sang in the car, which was bad enough. Anyway, I digress. Not the first time today. So we test different hypotheses as friends and colleagues and trying to, shall we say, collectively instill a force of betterment. And I suggested the espresso, which I think Andy, Karaoke Andy, has really taken to. And the idea of the espresso is, I could draw it here, but I tell you what I would prefer to do is to just swoosh it into paint. In fact, we could use next to this beautiful drawing here. Here we go. Okay, that's a little bit. Okay, the Toby Crabell picture disappeared, but the espresso essentially means that you take a range before the market opens. Let's just say that you took this. The exact details are a little more refined than what I'm about to illustrate here. And then you say, you know what? If this market trades above the opening range by X points, buy. And if it trades below the opening range by X points, sell short. And on days like today, it is an absolute brilliant way of getting in on an espresso move. But of course, there's also days where the market just decides to bop about in a tight trading range to begin with. But here's the opening range, and the market just explodes higher. Okay, so yeah, that's sort of my idea. I would like to be a buyer of the Nasdaq below 34, currently trading at 46. We've been as low as 40. The reason being is that candle 9 is a negative candle. And in my experience, in a strong uptrend or strong downtrend, it pays to be a buyer below. You can do the same. We'll turn the Dow. Probably want to be a buyer below bar 4. Although bar 7 here on the 5-minute chart, same thing by the way. 5, 6, 8. No, 5, 6, 8 and 5, 3, 2. So this is the area. So please stand by for a long position below 5, 6, 8 in the Dow. We're currently trading at 5, 7, 2. And the Nasdaq is also triggering a long signal, which I'm going to go long here in the Nasdaq. I'm going to go long here in the Dow, buying a first negative retracement, and let me get these trades posted on Telegram together with a stop loss. Okay. What would go against this trade here? Well, we hit the moving average. We average price, didn't fill the gap. So buyers are perhaps running out of patience and then thinking, well, we traded above the overnight range and that was an objective to hit the average price. So that could be an argument for not being long. 21. Putting a stop loss at 260. And in the Dow, putting a stop loss currently at 160 points. I'll just stick to that for now. So the buy signal here came when the Dow went below bar number 4. I saw that as a buying opportunity in a strong uptrend, basically just buying the first real retracement. Nasdaq seems to be holding up as well. The S&P seem to be roughly doing the same trade. So I'm going to take my profit in the Dow. I know I risked quite a lot of points, but I'm taking at about 28 points in profit. And just circling back to the Al Brooks event, I think Rose will be there, Brad and Tim, and I don't know whether I will be given a speaking slot. I hope I will. The trading slot will be fun, but if I don't, that's okay as well. I hope Ali is there. Ali Moin, great guy. I look forward to seeing him. It's a great educational event, or at least it was last year. And of course, if I'm part of it, I will do my very best to contribute meaningfully and positively to it. And I hope that you would consider coming. It would be great to meet you. Although I I imagine that it is out of the reach for tight budgets. It's not a cheap event. I acknowledge that. Yes. So I got one open trade. It's along at 330. We're currently trading at 315. I closed my Dow relatively quick. And hopefully we're going to get a retest and perhaps a gap fill in the Nasdaq. That's what I'm hoping. I would, if I go there, I was wondering if there were enough people from Brazil that would consider meeting me if I traveled to Brazil. I've never been to Brazil, and I think I'd quite like to visit it. The event is on the 3rd of October until the to the 7th of October, not the 27th of October. I have no idea about costs and the likes. But I will obviously keep you posted. Okay. S&P is staging a bit of a comeback. My Nasdaq position is a little bit in profit. Dow is looking better. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just easing out of my Nasdaq position because I want to wind up the trading session for today. Dow back to the highs. So I'm just going to put my stop loss to break even in the Dow, in the Nasdaq, and then fully expecting to get stopped out at 30, but just in case it gets a run up. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the first session back in the last week or so. I'll be trading with you Tuesday and Wednesday, which is normally my day off, and Thursday. Oh, there you go. Stopped out for nothing on the second half. And Thursday I will be with you for the European session, but I will not be with you for the US session. I am going on holiday. I look forward to that. So, a profitable US session without a doubt, a UK session, a Europe session that wasn't quite what I had hoped. So thank you so much for being here today. It was lovely to talk with you all, and I'm working my butt off to go through the last remaining queries. Hopefully I'll get through them all. You stay strong, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for today. Bye-bye.